this morning. Let's talk about comprehensive sex education. This is what we're asking. Should curriculum cover contraceptive use? And because somebody here has accused me of always inviting people who are born before independence, let's just take a look at who the panelists are. They are all quite, as you can see, youthful. We have Otoa Sifuna, educationist. Karibu sana. Today he's the honorary male on the panel. Usually we have an all-female panel, but because sex education cuts both ways, right? If there's teen pregnancy, there's somebody who's impregnating the girls. We must have you. It's good to have a male perspective on the panel. We have in the studio as well, Donya Doris Aburi, woman rep, Kisii County. We have the Gen Z you have demanded for, and her name is Lydia Mbere. She's a girl advocate. She leads Alliance. And I also have the privilege of hosting this morning Nancy Okoth, Project Manager, Plan International. Thank you all for being here. And when I started, you know that song, there's a song by Salt and Pepper, now that some of us are not Gen Z, that goes, let's talk about sex. You know, it was a song that accompanied a certain advert when I was growing up. So that is what we're discussing this morning, comprehensive health education, because I think this is more than about sex education. This is a health issue because the data has shown that HIV infections have actually gone up. I think the first time in 9 years. I'll pull up that report for you. So this is not even just about teen pregnancy or this is about health. So we get into that, but let me take a look at some of the comments we've received. Wilberforce, Poet Willie says, an awesome conversation. I will gladly join. Marsabit is Nord. Okay, so at Malcolm Von Rongai says, home science, biology and agriculture in primary and secondary walifundisha hizo. Shida ni dini imeingilia shule na kuharibu. Need to teach philosophy rather than CRE and religious overreaction if you want logical thinking kids. His perspective, Esco William is the guy I was referring to earlier. He says, I think you should invite the Gen Z and hear their take. Sometimes sometimes you get guests who fought for independence. And may not be in tune with current situation, probably will be cursing and you waste an hour of interview. As I said to Konae, Gen Z Hampa, you have already made the topic a taboo. This is Mark, your guy who says, you have already made the topic a taboo by avoiding to write sex the way it is supposed to be written. Dan Mwangi was saying it looks like a 6. We were just being coy about the subject. We did not intend to inject any stigma. All right, on the subject, here are some other views. Mwari Wamumbi answers no to the question. The question that should curriculum cover contraceptive use? They say no. Here we have Nick Ashuma, who says, without a gynecologist on this panel, there's nothing tangible that will come out of the discussion. Well, Nick, we're not teaching you about the biology. We are just having a conversation about whether we should be teaching this in schools, contraceptive use, how children should protect themselves in these situations. All right. And then Doc Lucy says, Clan Mushera, she says, Kenyan teachers wanaonewa. From mainstream subjects to extracurricular activities to CBC with minimal training, civic education, patriotism, now to gynecology. Where? No. So she says teachers are already overburdened. And that is some of what came out in the debate in the National Assembly. There are those who say this is a responsibility that should be undertaken by parents at home. But like Mheshimiwa Jane Naivasha, Member of Parliament, she said parents are too busy. They're leaving their children with strangers. Times have changed. The home setup has changed. So anyway, share your thoughts at Barrows at NTV Kenya. We will take them into account. Oh, yeah, and Lydia, somebody here says you're a girl from her hood. Who is this? Yes, Sami Nganga says, Lydia Mbere, girl from my hood, Kia Michael's greatest. Good to have you on the panel, and good shout out there, Sami Nganga. All right, let's get into the dailies. Daily Nation, fees shock for varsity students. And new funding model, new students seeking state funding on their university education have 3 weeks to apply as a funding model that scraps automatic equal subsidy in favor of a system that targets to cushion the poor in light of higher course-specific fees comes into force. This as 23,000 eligible students snapped varsity application, which means institutions are below declared capacity. And there's some data here on the various classifications from the vulnerable, extremely needy, and less needy. I hosted a show about this with various players in the varsity sector. You can look it up, AM Live, just search on NTV Kenya's YouTube channel. Also on the front page here, negotiators named as Ruto-Raila teams deepen feud. Azimio has named Wiper boss Kalonzo Musyoka leader of the opposition's 5-member delegation to the talks with the ruling coalition, even as the government side rejects inclusion of runaway cost of living an audit of last year's presidential elections as part of the agenda. A story that was filed for us by Zainab Ismail. Again, you can find it on the NTV Kenya YouTube channel. Ken H's historic unborn baby blood transfusion. 4 doctors successfully perform clinical procedure to help save the life of a baby while still in her mother's womb. The woman has lost 2 babies. More on that, page 10 of the Daily Nation. Tower of Bubble, rogue or ignorant. Ministers red-carded. In this case, the image that accompanies this story is that of Health CS, Susan Nakumicha. Cabinet secretaries are increasingly being caught out, making sweeping roadside declarations that reek of executive overreach and at times contradicting one another over key policy statements. I believe this has to do with a story I did on Saturday, where she demanded for the transfer of the Matisi OCS over the death of her former bodyguard, alias Terminator. All right, a Business Daily. CBK cuts off brokers on new mobile bond trading platform. This one is by Charles Waniki. A new central bank bond trading platform that went live on Monday has granted retail investors in Kenya and abroad, let me just refer to my hard copy here, unprecedented access to attractive returns via the mobile phone, opening up a sector that has hitherto been the preserve of a small club of sophisticated and deep-pocketed investors. I also see sharing the front page of the Business Daily here, Deloitte in vicious fight with partner over expulsion bid. And on the ticker, why Kenya is among painful nations for suppliers in Africa. Kenya is one of the most painful countries for suppliers on the continent, given the time it takes to get money paid for goods delivered. A new report shows that over 80% of Kenyan firms are taking more than a day to process invoices, and the waiting can take nearly a year. A bank drops plan to auction billionaire Langat Tea Estate, and Imperial Bank depositors pay blocked. Depositors of collapsed Imperial Bank will have to wait longer for their payment after Mombasa tycoon obtained orders blocking any payments pending determination of his petition. And at the very top here, Fred Ogola asks, is Kerry rebranding a well-thought-out and effective strategy? Is it not an attempt akin to giving a hyena a facelift? More on that, page 9 of Business Daily. Taifa Leo, mchezo wa paka na panya. Wandani wa Rais William Ruto na Raila Odinga waendelea kurushiana cheche kana kwamba nchi haina shida yoyote. So I see the insiders on President William Ruto's side. I do not see them on the other side. Am I missing something? No. Okay. So this is the front page of Taifa Leo. Let us see. It reads at the very top here, licha ya kuwepo haja ya maridhiano, wanasiasa wa Azimio na Kenya Kwanza haonyeshi nia ya dhati kupatana. All right, let's take a look now at the Standard. Here we go. How Ruto-Raila dialogue deal was brokered, from international calls to requests for live streaming of the talks. Politicians burnt midnight oil to ensure President and Azimio leader enter truce and are kept in the know. Here they have various faces: Opiyo Wandayi, Eugene Wamalwa, Kalonzo Musyoka, Kimani Ichung'wah, Aaron Cheriot, Okongo Omogeni, Amina Mnyazi. 2 missing faces here, though, so there is some intrigue, it appears here, and then a handshake over there. What else is on the front page of the Standard? At the very top here, retired Air Force boss on Kenya's darkest night. Should prove an interesting read. Shock of near 600,000 KCSE learners out of education radar. Government yesterday placed learners to higher learning institutions with more than a 2/3 unaccounted for. 768,624 slots for student placement in 69 university, 210 TVET institutions and 3 secondary teacher training colleges. And the numbers go on. So that is on the front page of the Standard, and 100 Shakahola victims are identified. More on that, page 10 of the Standard. Front page of the Star now. Okay. Tells me my payment for this failed. Oh, I see what happened. Let me sort it out. As I do so, let us take a look at the People Daily. Eyes on Ruto as Raila picks a team. Obasanjo to moderate talks. Headwinds ahead of political rivals fire salvos over what issues will be on the table and if negotiations can be concluded in 30 days as Raila has demanded. Question now is who will represent Kenya Kwanza? A quote here on the front page of the People Daily. Raila Odinga, our position remains that no party to these negotiations can claim a right to determine for the other what to raise and what not to raise. Some good news also on the front page here of the People Daily. Inflation drops to 7.3% as cost of food and cooking gas eases. And they have some figures here for us on the cost of spinach, cabbage, onions have gone up. We carried that story again on Saturday. But the cost of spinach, cabbage, tomatoes, wheat flour appear to have gone down. As far as non-food items, the cost of electricity, they tell us, cooking gas, rent for a one-bedroom, I suppose on account of inflation, has also gone down. Petrol has gone, no, rent has gone up. Monthly house rent has gone up. Petrol has gone up, diesel has gone up. Okay, so that's captured on the front page of the People Daily. Let us see, KNH doctors conduct milestone operation on unborn baby, and I will have to rely on my hard copy here for what is contained in the Star. Raila unveils team as Ruto side talks tough. Kenya Kwanza yet to name its team. Fires at Azimio for the second day in a row. The images of the 5 identified, tapped by the Azimio side. Azimio says it is keen that talks should take a month starting today. The story on onions is up here. Prices of onions increased by 100 shillings a kilogram due to shortage. Further down here, freedom for murder convict who has waited 25 years for sentencing. Wow, 25 years, astounding. On that, page 3 of the Star. Delicate procedure. KNH doctors successfully transfuse anemic fetus, give hope to anxious mother. And Michael Waikenda quoted as saying, there is no crisis, focus on growth. So I imagine that I have covered everything. So now that I have covered everything, let me get into the topic of a discussion. But first, let's listen to some of the debate that was had on Wednesday on the floor of the National Assembly when Jane Njeri Minor introduced this motion. Let me just read to you what it states before we hear that. Just pulling it up here on my phone. But as I do that, let's listen in.
We had the bill that had been proposed by this House in the last Parliament, Honorable Speaker. And you know, there was an uproar on social media that we are telling our children, engage in sex. We are not telling our children, engage in sexual activities. We are telling them, wait. We are telling them this is not the right time. We are telling them, if you ever find yourself in such a scenario, I do not want you to contract HIV and AIDS.
The Honorable Njeri must tell us how comprehensive is comprehensive. What is it that she wants to be taught? What should be included in the curriculum? Because number one, we already have health education in our schools.
I think in Kenya today we cannot talk of introducing health education. We have a lot of health education in our schools and even in our curriculum. There is need to identify in particular where is the gap.
We have a lot of problems when it comes to teenage pregnancies. And many times, it is because we have not taken up the responsibility right from home, especially parents, because these are our primary interactions with our children, to understand and let them, to give advice to our girls and boys as they grow up, especially when they are in adolescence.
The current state of adolescent health training programs is inadequate and fragmented, resulting in limited access to healthcare information and services by the youth in the country. Further concerned that, as a result of this, young people face significant barriers in accessing comprehensive healthcare, cognizant that comprehensive sexual education through school-based programs, community-based programs, and healthcare facilities can promote healthy sexual practices amongst young people and reduce the spread of HIV, stroke, AIDS, and other sexually transmitted infections.
All right, turns out I don't even have to read the motion. Martha Wangari has done the most of it for me. So I finally managed to get my star to cooperate. So this is, you can get a clearer view what the front page looks like. The price of onions increased by 100 shillings per kilogram due to shortage. Raila unveils team as Ruto side talks stuff. Kenya Kwanza yet to name its team fires at Azimio for the second day in a row. Those on the team, Kalonzo Musyoka, Heo Pio Wandae, Eugene Wamalwa, Amina Mnyazi, Okongo Omogeni, and the rest of the page there. Okay, so just a reminder of who I have in studio, and now we can get into this topic of conversation substantively. Here we go. Should curriculum cover contraceptive use? We have in studio Nancy Okoth, Project Manager, Plan International, Lydia Mbere, Kiamaiko's finest, girl advocate. She leads Alliance. We have Donya Doris Aburi, Woman Rep Kisi, and Otwa Sifuna Education, who is the educationist, and he's the honorary, today is a privilege, honorary on this panel. Yeah. Nancy, do you think it's about time that we brought this conversation back? Because it's not the first time we've had this conversation. I was listening to a member of parliament from Meru when they were having this debate, and she said, the last time this thing came, I was opposed to it. You know, this whole conversation about comprehensive sex education. And she said she was opposed because there are those who take the view that you're giving children license, the green light, now go and have sex. You know, but now she said the realities are that we must address this issue. We cannot continue I know it's unfactual, but to hide our heads in the sand like an ostrich. They usually just lie low. They don't put their heads in the sand. So do you think it's an overdue conversation?
Yeah, for me, I think it is an overdue conversation. And as much as we look at it, most of the time we were looking at it at the school level. But my opinion is this needs to be start at home level as early as the child start growing up, as early as 5 years. We need to put it an age appropriate so that parents and guardians are able to also guide. Because when we look about the statistics, we realize that there's so many abuses. When we leave alone teenage pregnancies and any other, there are a lot of issues, abuses. But when we start educating our children about their body parts, when they're able to know about this is my private part, this is how it should be, nobody should touch them, it should start at that lower level so that we can avoid issues, abuses. We can even avoid, because right now Kenya is committed on to ending all forms of violence. If you are committed to that, how are we going to end FGM if our girls are not aware of their body parts, if we are still having our girls getting into child marriages? So for me, it is a conversation that needed to have started yesterday, and everyone needs to pick it up, including the church, the government, and any other person. Yes. Okay.
So you're saying, I mean, this one, all hands on deck.
Yeah.
All hands on deck. All right. So she'll tell us, you'll tell us, you know, who has been forced now to step into that without this structured way of addressing it. You can tell us a little bit about who has been now forced to step into that gap and address this issue in terms of raising awareness and all that. But first, let's hear from Lydia. Lydia, good to have you this morning.
Thank you.
Good to have you in studio. Tell us, what does a girl advocate do?
Me, Lydia. Naomba nitumie ile tu lugha nimezoea.
Go ahead.
So mimi kama girl advocate, mimi naona iko sawa iongelewe. Juu saizi ukiangalia tusiseme tu bado shule peke yake. Mi hizi vitu tunafanyanga home. In our group we meet every Friday, tuna having young kids. Unapata mtoto ukimfundisha kuna venye anajitoa. Na huyu mtoto ni mdogo. So abuses ziko mingi na zinatoka home. Na huyu mtoto kama hajafundishwa akiwa hivi mdogo, hakuna siku yenye tutawaijua. So tukisema hii kitu isiongelewe, hakuna vile itawaiisha. Ni vizuri mtoto aambiwe. Mimi naambianga wasichana wangu juu ni wadogo, mmoja kwa class 2. Mtu afai kukushika hapa kwa nyonyo. Mtu afai kukushika hapa. Juu ya nini? Ni msichana na hata mwanaume atamwangalia na hataona ni mtoto. So unaona huo mtu atamguza. But kama sijampatia hiyo information, kuna siku atajua ni vibaya. Yeye atakuwa anajua hata akiguzwa iko tu sawa. So mimi sioni shida yote. Unajua kitu kimoja watu wanachukulianga hii kama sex education ni kitu mbaya. Na tusidanganyane, hii ni kitu iko na ndio kitu yenye watoto saizi wamefanya vibaya sana. Na no wonder unapata hata magonjwa mingi zinaenea. Unapata watoto wadogo wamejua vitu mingi hadi kuliko watu wakubwa. Juu ya nini? Na wananyamazia. Juu wana hiyo right ya kuiongelea. But mtoto akiambiwa, mimi naona inaweza saidia mahali. Yes.
Okay, so you talked about your girls.
Yes.
So au madem mko nao wapi?
Sisi tunakuanga nao Kiamaiko, tunakuanga na group yetu inaitwa Shine a Light. I'm from She Leads Girl Advocate, but I'm in a group called Shine a Light. So every Friday we meet. So we talk about issues zenye zina go around our community. Na unapatanga watu wanajiongea. Unaona, sometimes unapatanga hata saa nyingine tunawaambianga hao watoto chukueni tu paper tudogo muandike kitu zenye zinawafanyikianga. Unapata mtu hata aliandika anko alinishika nyonyo. Unaona kitu kama hiyo. So hapo sisi tunawafundishanga. Na unapata huo mtoto ukimpia hiyo information, siku nyingine unamwambia hata ukipata anko afai kukushika. Juu kwanza by the way saizi unajua kama ufundishi mtoto hata anko yake akimshika anajua si wrong. Juu ajaika chini akaambiwa mtu afai kukushika mahali popote. But kwa group unapatanga wanajiongea, at least unaweza kuwa advice. So unapata vitu kama hizo pia zinaweza pungua kidogo. Jua mtoto next time haiwezi kubali kufanya nini? Kuguzwa.
So you're shining a light, you're working with girls in your community.
Yes, yes.
All right.
And we also include male champions. Juu unajua venye tu mmesema, they need to be there. Yes.
All right. And okay, that's good. That's positive.
Yes.
So you'll tell us how you got involved in this activities.
Yes.
But before then, Mheshimiwa Donya, good to have you in studio this morning. So this, first of all, the motion. Maybe you can tell us what is a motion?
First of all, that we heard Nick saying that if we don't have a Gaina in the studio,
yes,
we can't discuss anything. Let me tell Nick.
Uh-huh.
Parents, I'm a parent, a mother of 2 daughters, and family members are the primary source of information about sex. And sex, people will be watching from home saying that, Olive, you mean there's nothing you could discuss this morning rather than sex? It's our second food. If they didn't know, was it not for sex, you could not be here. Yeah. You would also not be here. So at Parliament, we have motions when, for example, you need to introduce something that you see has a public interest. Like now, last week, Jane Minor, woman member of Kirinyaga, she brought up this motion of comprehensive, meaning there are gaps and through there are gaps that need to be introduced in the health sector so that we improve the health of our children and above all, give them information because information is power. When we tell them of sex education, they decrease risks. That is paramount. When you have information, you're better placed than someone who doesn't have information. So comprehensive is the key to go, and let our learners be taught on sex early enough so that we prevent more harm.
All right.
Yeah.
Umeitwa male champion. Umeitwa male champion by Lydia here.
Yeah.
So, as an educationist,
yes.
I remember the comment I read here, and somebody said, "Alas, we already taught these things. We are taught biology, you know." So, and Jalango also talked about this because he was saying how comprehensive is comprehensive.
Yeah.
Are there gaps?
Yeah. We must admit that from the word go, Olive, unless we become the proverbial ostrich that you have just alluded to. I must say that today, I want to accept your honorary invitation. It actually is said in English that it takes 2 to tango. So it will be quite unfortunate that my good sisters are seated on this panel discussing this matter that takes actually 2 to tango without looking at, because if whenever there is a phenomena, there is a cause to it. So it is important that society right now, we've opened the discussion. I think you'll allow me to start by being very religious today, this morning, by quoting the holy book, First Thessalonians, chapter 4, 3-5. And it says, "For this is the will of God, that each one of you know how to control his or her body in holiness and honor, but not in passion." It goes without saying, Olive, that there's a problem. The gap is our teenage in schools and outside of schools are not learning how to defer their passion. We are faced with Generation Z that wants instant gratification. It's like the microwave generation. Everything at a click of a button, they want to have it. And we are not blaming them as educators, as teachers. The statistics are quite shocking, Olive. We are talking of 9% of the age group between 10 years to 19 years that are already infected by HIV/AIDS. We are talking of 13% or thereabout of this particular teenage age group, according to the demographics, that are already pregnant. So must we continue pretending as if things are not are right and just say we are doing business as usual? And that's why I want to accept with our able leadership in the National Assembly that this is a candid discussion that must now take a multi-sectoral approach. We like I've been, you know my years in the teaching fraternity. I always say that it is like a tripartisan approach: the school, the community, and the family. You did start by saying that there's a problem with the parental engagement. And that's where, if there was one person that really acclaimed the CBC, competence-based curriculum, it was I, Otoa Sifuna, for the sole purpose that it gave an opportunity to the parents to come and engage. But you have just read to us that part of the problem that the parliamentarians are expressing as a concern is that the parents are too busy. Too busy for what? You know, this reminds me of the late Professor George Magoha. If God gave you an ability to have a child as a biological parent, what are you doing with this particular child? As teachers, Olive, and I will continue delving deeper into this, we are saddened that the level of parental engagement to train, to teach, to mentor these young people is actually left and relegated to the position of the teacher. And now other ungodly forms of education. Our youth are listening. Our teenage are listening. The question is, are we filling in? In psychology, when I was at Kenyatta University, there was something called tabula rasa. These children are born empty slates. And whatever goes in is what goes out, just like in the technological jargon. Garbage in, garbage out. These guys are consuming a lot. And you cannot now label accusatory fingers because they are experimenting.
Okay.
If they are going through the stream, the social platforms, and they are seeing this, and you as a mother, and let me tell you, most of this generation we are talking of are epitomes or epicenters of young mothers and young fathers. Maybe first child. So a lot of them also need our support.
Okay.
Do we have programs that are also bringing on board young parents, first-time parents, like Mheshimiwa here, to work with these parents and tell them that, yes, the teachers are doing a lot. And I remember in my pedagogy, there is a difference between just naming the parts, Olive, that these are parts of a tree, and now going deeper into the components of the functionality of those parts of the tree. I think we need to upscale our sex education. Okay. Look at forms of human sexuality, look at the causes of what is all leading to this, and for each and every cause, look at the impact that is creating on our modern day teenage.
All right. Hey, Otoa, tripartite, tabula
Rasa.
Rasa.
Tabula rasa. Pedagogy.
Pedagogy. We take a break, but when we come back, we look at some of that data that you referenced, right? Like, for example, on the question of HIV, the National Syndemic Disease Control Council World AIDS Day report talked about it is a race against time. There has been a reversal in the progress Kenya has made where new infections are concerned, new HIV infections are concerned, and there is particular concern that has been raised here with regard to that demographic, that youth demographic. We get into that on the other side of this break.
In your paper this week, Russia-Africa ties. Who's fooling whom? Africa's hunger offers Putin an opportunity to fight isolation. Khartoum generals and Ruto on warpath in search of Sudan peace. BRICS expansion jolts NATO to pivot towards Africa. Plus our opinion leaders. Who will sing a truly East African song or write the new East African book? Charles Onyango Obo. Religion, football and feminism. Lessons from beautiful Game 23. LC Eakuze. As cars become quieter, a case for Africa's roads to remain loud. Joachim Buembo. For these and more stories, get your copy of the East African.
Gathe na kuhanya. Nilimwona na malaika.
Gathe, unajua na mimi ule msimbaya. Wallahi billahi nikisikia unabonga na makarao wewe.
Umemjua Makarios for how long?
Mimi simjui afisa. Last chance kijana.
Who runs this drug business? Na nitamgetaje?
Daring Abroad makes me dare. It's the only show of its kind in the world. And now, it's bigger.
And even more entertaining and informative than before.
Hapa kunaitwa Kakoe na inatubaba sana.
From London to Jersey Island.
Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo to the scenic features of Uganda, the Pearl of Africa.
And many more places abroad and at home.
I watch Daring Abroad. I like the stories which people bring.
Daring Abroad every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. with repeats every Sunday at 1:30 p.m. on NTV.
Centum Real Estate offers you an opportunity to own a home at the Two Rivers development. Mzizi Court residents, talk to us today on 0703 262626 or text 2 Rivers to 22365.
All right, welcome back to AM Live, and we are discussing comprehensive sex education. It's a sticky issue, and we'll get into why it is a sticky issue. I just wanted to highlight some of what Otoa said. This is the World AIDS Day report from the National Syndemic Disease Control Council, and they said that let me see, here we go. The estimated number of new, let me just zoom in here. The estimated number of new HIV infections increased by more than 2,000 cases from 32,027 in 2020 to 34,540 in 2021. This report identifies key challenges contributing to this reversal in progress, including the clustering of new HIV infections among children, adolescents and younger people, and the impact of commodity insecurity. So there we have it. That report corroborates what Otoa was telling us. But Nancy, part of the reason this is a sticky issue, and we addressed this during the break, is that we have, beg your pardon, there we go. We have the cultural issues that complicate it, you know. Yes. There are some belief systems that don't believe in contraceptive use. So if we are saying we are doing comprehensive sex education and you don't know who because your students come from all sorts of different faiths, you know, so there are those who would be fine with it, there are those who would not subscribe on religious grounds. So how do you respect the right of the parents' choices, while at the same time ensuring that the children are properly equipped to deal with the changing times? It's complicated, is it not?
Yeah, it's very much complicated because, I mean, I'm sorry to say that as a block that has been there in terms of implementing or rather sharing information on comprehensive sex education has been religion. Yes, and ideally, you know, morality check has always been on religion or either religion or legislation. But again, in religion, a lot has not been done because we have discrepancies when it comes to sharing information about issue sex. Different religions have their own beliefs and have their own way. But one of the things I really want to point out is that we really try to ensure that each and every person's faith is respected because that is their faith. But again, we are losing our children. You've talked about statistics, and we don't want to say that our young people are not having sex. The latest statistics say that more than half of the young people are not aware, actually between 15 to 17 are not aware of how to prevent HIV/AIDS. That one from the KDHS report. And where are they coming from? They're coming from churches. And what are the churches doing? What is it that they're doing just to train or just to talk to the young people? Because they are accessing them. They're having Sunday schools, they're having young people's meetings. What are they doing? The thing that you realize a church minister will stand and say, sex is meant for reproduction. I mean, sex is for producing children. Yes, yes. But again, this is a church elder that has 4 children. Does it mean that they've only had sex 4 times? If that is the information that they're giving? No. They really just need to ensure that they tell them that each and every pleasure has an accountability. If the young people want to choose sex as a pleasure, they need to know that they are accountable to that. And they need to know if you have sex, what comes in. We're also having young people, like, for example, sorry to use Lydia's example. Lydia here gave birth at the age of 15 years. Nancy here had her first child at the age of 13 years, 8 months. And then that time I was still a child. If the church came out to talk to me, to tell me the do's and the don'ts, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done any other thing. There before, the church kept on talking about virginity as a value. Yes, it is very good. But what is it that they're doing to ensure that our children get there when they're still virgins? Why do we want to live? Because the church, the elders and the people in the church, they're the parents, they're the teachers. What information are we giving? Because we need to, when you talk about comprehensive sex education, it is not only about a component of sex only. Because people think when you talk about comprehensive sex education, it is about telling young people on how to have sex. No, 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 no. We are telling them how to take care, how to abstain too, how to abstain from sex. And actually, that is very key. Because we are not going to tell young people, no, you need to have sex and access contraceptives. Because even accessing contraceptives, are they even there? Are the commodities even available, especially in the community there where we are? And even if they're available, are these people able to access them? Because, for example, where I work in Plan International, we've been trying to ensure there is access to youth-friendly services. So these young people, they're not even able to access, and not even access in terms of reaching the hospital. The distance between the hospitals, or rather the health facilities and their homes, are too far away, even for them to go there and even get education. So it is not about contraceptives, because we cannot really say, yes, young people should just go full blast in accessing contraceptives. They'll not even be able to get, because even right now, even older women like us do not get, because there are not available. Even there is this time that we had a shortage of condom. So if we tell them about go and get contraceptives and the commodities are not there, we will be lying to them. And we have young people, we must say that we have young people that are equally sexually active, 13 years, 14 years. What are we telling them? Do we tell them to stop having sex, or do we have them a way of having safe sex? Yes. So it is neither here nor there in terms of access. It is a yes and a no. A yes and a no. A yes to who and a no to who. But key thing is abstinence for me. Yes, yes. It is abstinence on telling them how do they go about it. But also agreeing to the fact that we have young people that are already sexually active, that are already having their children, and we just need to see a way of now supporting them, of not being able to contract HIV/AIDS. Because if I gave birth at the age of 13, it means that at the age of 14 or 15, I can have another child. At the age of 17, I can still have another child. So how is the government, how is the church, how is the community coming in to support this young girl that is already sexually active?
It was interesting because when I was listening to that debate in the National Assembly, and Mheshimiwa Rachel Nyamai, she said already as a woman, it is normal to have periods. But buying, there's this, she used the word embarrassment that is associated with going to buy the sanitary towel, going to the till or to the counter or to the kiosk and asking for, you whisper, you wait for everybody to clear, then you go, and then especially if it's a man behind, you know, the mesh, you avoid looking at each other in the eye, and these are pads. This is normal. So even buying condoms, it's not an easy thing, even if the commodity was available for an adolescent to go and buy, let's say, a condom, right? It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to do.
We're not talking about it. Yes. We have to make this a conversation.
Normalize.
Look at the time of COVID. Every child knew the importance of wearing a mask because they were told about it. Yeah. No one missed that part of it's COVID season, wear your mask, don't go to school. Long are the days when you could tell a child that I bought you from the supermarket. Or assuming you are living in the US and you are going to report to your doctor that you are sick, probably you are scratching your private part. You will tell your doctor, if you are a man, I was scratching my penis. If you are a woman, I was scratching my vagina. Come to Kenya. You will not explain that to a doctor. First, you will say, Doctor, can I write for you my problem? You don't want to express yourself. First of all, we need to make this a conversation. When the MP for Kirinyaga brought this formal proposal before the floor of the House, there are some members even who are saying, oh, women issue, as usual, sex. We've asked for good roads. We've always spoke about, like Donya from Kisii County. I talk about FGM because our community believes that is a gate pass to womanhood. So young children, they perceive that immediately they are circumcised, they start early sex, and that has led to the high rates of teen pregnancies at Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital. 60% olive to 65 teen mothers, meaning the FGM has no health benefit. It's not helping our children. So we need to make this a conversation. The more we talk about it daily, the problem we have is people pretend. They think that when you are talking about sex, you have no agenda. If there are people who make good principles in this country, see schools that are led by female principals. So it's not that women, we don't have a conversation. It's because we believe when we tell you about, we are teaching our children about early sex, it's because we need a productive society. If all of us are pregnant, definitely we'll be out of school. We'll have no lifetime skills. We lose it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lydia, you want to jump in there?
Yes. Nataka kusema, saa ingine acha tuseme, let's call a spade a spade. Si ni ukweli? Hii kitu iko na tuwezi danganyana. Kwanza nataka kuambia church inasemanga tusiongelele hii kitu. But do you know some pregnancies huwa zinatoka kwa hiyo kanisa? But the pastors ndio watu wa kwanza wanatuambia nini? Hiyo kitu ifai kuongelelewa na unafai kuwa virgin. Si ni ukweli? But ukichunguza mimba zimetoka hapo ndani. Aya, hizi social norms zenye ziko huku kwetu. Unaona pia hizo zinakwanga zikiumiza watu. Kama saa hizi mimi, I have a lot of girls wenye wako pregnant. And I think ni kuanzia 13 years to 14 years. A girl, first of all, she was pregnant. So when the mother found out, alimpeleka akatoa hiyo mimba. Amemsaidia, hajamsaidia, si ni kweli, but hakumuonesha umuhimu wa family planning. tuseme ni mzuri, si ni ukweli? But mtoto angefundishwa na ambiwa kuna venye unaweza abstain. Mtoto saizi unapata sasa saizi yako na mimba ingine. Sawa? Juu ya nini na ako shule? So now she has to drop out of school because she's pregnant again. Aya, she's at home. Bado ajui anything about sex education. Ajui unaweza tumia family planning. Kitu ya kwanza bado pia atuogopi mimba pia. Sex education bado inasaidia mtoto wako na hizi stories za magonjwa. Mtoto akifundishwa atajua kama hizi CDs zinaenda kwa condom. Sasa hizi unaona kwa hivyo ni ukweli. Ukienda kununua condom huwezi bai hadharani. Juu sisi kama sisi watoto tunajuanga condom ni kitu mbaya na ni ya watu wakubwa. Lakini mtoto wako sexual active. Akienda by hiyo condom na kuja itumie, tuseme mimi si advocate watoto wafanye sex, but unaona kuna kitu moja itakuwa imepungua. Kitu ya kwanza mtoto atapata ugonjwa na kitu ya pili pia mimba itakuwa imeavoidika. Mtu si atasoma. Lakini tukisema hii kitu isiongelelewe, mtu atawaijua uzuri na ubaya wa kitu ni nini. Unajua once unafundisha mtu hii kitu, unakwanga ukimpatia uzuri na ubaya wake. Juu tusidanganyane, sex ni mzuri. Na at the same time bado iko si ni ukweli, si uongo. Sex ndio imefanya tukue hapa penye tuko. No wonder we are here. Si ni ukweli? Na it was created, so we cannot deny it. So me I think we need to educate them. Na tunaambia the goods and the bads. Everything has both sides. Yes.
You are telling them to abstain from what? Abstain from what? Sex is bad. What is this sex? Define, definition. This is the Bible. You go through. Now you are telling your kids, okay, I don't want them to be told about contraceptives, but you are telling them abstain. So as a parent, I will ask you, abstain from eating? From what? Abstain from sex.
Oliver, the sentiments raised by my sisters here are quite valid.
First of all, do you agree best schools are run by women?
I will, like I did start by saying, it's a multi-sectoral approach.
Okay, I was just I didn't mean to distract you.
But the boys or the boy child has a central place in all this. Like Olive, in other conversation, I've told you of the program I'm doing to schools called From Boys to Men. What are we doing to also encourage our boy child that at this particular juncture, these are your sisters. And this is the responsibility you need to play to also safeguard and secure your sisters. I will agree with them that this is the time to actually remove to go bare knuckles and just look at everybody into the eye and say, what are we doing and what are the consequences? I normally tell my boys that in the military, you are trained to shoot the gun. But before even you are told now shoot, there are processes leading to that. Or even in athletics or marathon, before the whistle goes to take off, you have already taken off. So most of my boys are already firing into the air before the actual firing. What will happen when the enemy has now come and they need now to fire? They will have spent all their ammunition and they will be firing maybe a rubber bullets or their cartridge will already be spent. So what I'm telling the boys is that if you can hold on until that time where the whistle goes, and in this case I'm just using the metaphorical language to say that wait until the appropriate time has come. But I'll again go to the US jurisdiction. Are we putting emphasis on abstinence or we are putting emphasis on control measures like the contraceptives you're saying? Again, I'll shock you with the statistics. Looking at the consumption of contraceptives in this country, for instance, the condom come almost at third, fourth position. What our young boys and girls are doing, and you can do this quickly around the chemist or across the shoulder, the dispensing chemists there, they're taking what we call emergency pills. A lot of them, actually, somebody was saying, wanakula P2 kama wanakula ugali. Yeah? Their question is, je, ukinipea ball? They have never asked, na nikipata STI, nikipata STD. Yes. So we need to go to the drawing board and sensitize this youth that it's not just a question of pregnancy.
True.
There is a whole deconstruction of your future if you start practicing all this. And this now comes back to the stakeholders, the legislators here, the teachers here, the role models in society. And again, I'll tell you, Olive, it is very sad that this generation has got shrunk role models. There are no role models in the society. Lydia here has said you go to the church and you want to get solace, maybe the church is not providing that. You go to the family, you want to get solace, you're not getting that. You go to your aunt, you want to get solace, the aunt is not providing that. The uncle equally is not providing that. These guys are resorting now to what is called God for us all and man for himself.
All right. You know, when you were talking, I was trying to pull up, there is an opinion piece I read reacting to the last KDHS report. Yes. And it was talking about teen pregnancies. And the guy was asking, there's data on the girls who are getting pregnant, but there's no data on who is impregnating.
Yeah.
Right? Is it young men? Or is it older men taking advantage of young girls?
Yes.
So that we know where to intervene, right? But I'll still try and find it because I read it in Gazeti, so najaribu kuangalia kanta ipata online.
Yeah.
But Nancy, there is an argument that already they have the information. Already these young people have the information. This is a question of value systems. Your thoughts?
I don't know from where you're standing, when you talk about already they're having information. Because I look at issues information, like right now we talk about comprehensive sex education and we don't have any standardized curriculum where we are sharing information, a way of sharing information. And we are also having the National Reproductive Health Policy, which is one of the models of information sharing or education on comprehensive sex education. And it is yet to be operationalized because it was supposed to be operationalized through community, through clinic, through schools, and also through virtual. And one of these areas, they are SAL areas. We are talking about Marsabit. When we are talking about already the information there, who is there in Marsabit? Who is there in these other areas? Because I'm thinking that there are areas that people are not having information about this. Yes, there are areas where we are having information because we have the civil society organizations working there, they're working in schools, they're giving information, there is access so that the people are going there, have already trained peer educators. So I'm really not sure, I really don't want to affirm your statement that already there is information on values, because yes, we even have communities where parents themselves do not have information. And there is this fact that we do not need to forget. We are having young people with disabilities. Yes, we are now in this era of sustainable development goals of leaving no one behind. Do they have information? Have we ensured that our information are in Braille, our information are done in sign languages? For example, during when we do, during the HIV/AIDS World AIDS Day, you see people, or World Condom Day, people are going around and it is about use condom, use condom, use condom. We are doing condom demonstration. Do we know there is this person who has a hearing impairment? Do we know that there is this person who is having a visual impairment that is not able to know, or rather to understand what you're saying? And when we talk about information access, where is that information? We have posters somewhere. Who is able to read about the posters? We have rural girls. Have we ensured that this information is in local language? It is translated in the local language. So each and every parent is aware of this. Each and every youth at the community level who did not have an opportunity to go to school, to learn English, to learn Kiswahili, is aware of this. So talking about information, I am not so sure, and I do not have any statistics to confirm that we are having information, but I would say that it is just a handful or just a section of young people that are having information. And when it comes to information about, for example, the use of condom, this is one of the contraceptives that has always been publicized more than any other. And then you realize that even as young people, especially girls, even older women, at my age, we can still not negotiate for condom use. Most of the time it relies on the men to make decision. Are we using family planning in this house? are we using condom or not? And you realize that most women that are even accessing family planning, they're doing it chini ya maji, because maybe their spouses or their their partners do not agree to this. So we still need to give information and just ensure that there are no discrepancies while giving information. Because with no standardized curriculum, we are having a lot of discrepancies. For example, as an organization from Plan International, we could be having our model or module of giving information. It could be different from what World Vision is giving. It could be different from what another organization is giving. So how are we having this standardized curriculum where we are giving a conversation that is agreeable by all, where people have sat down, people have agreed, and I still agree with our educationist, our male champion, that multi-sectoral approach, that each and every person has come on the table and have agreed that this is what we want to go out there to our young people, to our children, and to any other person, to the parents. If we do not do that, I don't think we are going to achieve this comprehensive sex education. Because from my end, I was thinking that the government will really agree to this and then have this incorporated in the curriculum, as we have been trying. Yes, people talk about teachers are already having a lot, but how are we able to make this comprehensive sex education integrated in our curriculum to be a teachable and a learnable subject in our schools, so that when they come out, it is a conversation, a normalized conversation on the table. When you talk about sex, put on the table, normalize it, and not only about sex, reproductive health on the table, normalize it, and people just discuss it. Whether it is not like when I'm a lady, I'm referred to my mother. When I'm a boy, I'm referred to my father. All mothers have information, all fathers have information, and we're able to, because we have single parents, and you can be having a boy and a girl as your children. Who will you refer your girl to if you are a man? And who will you refer your boy to if you are a lady?
Okay.
Yes.
So the whole thing about it, they already have this information. It was actually a Mheshimiwa from Makweni during the debate. I'll trace her name. But she also said, why do you want to tell people who don't have families about family planning? But we'll come back to that. But A, B, C, as Otwa teaches us. Abstinence, be faithful,
and use condoms.
Use condoms.
Which is not being used.
But what is so difficult, Lydia Baby Tuambie, about adhering to A until you are at the age of majority?
Ndo ufanye hiyo kitu. Ni ngumu, by the way. Ni ngumu. Venye tu tumesema hapa saa hizi, uwezi ambia mtu asifanye, si ni ukweli? Na uwezi ambia mtu atumie condom. Si ni ukweli? So kitu ya kwanza saa hizi, Nancy vile amesema hapa, unapata watu wako na information but wana full information. Like me, nitatumia P2, niendelee kuitumia, si ni ukweli? But mnajua madhara hiyo P2? Sijui madhara. Sisi tunameza. Lakini ningejua madhara hiyo P2, singeimeza mara moja 2 3. So kuna hata wenye wanabelieve wanatuambianga ati kunyonyesha ni family planning. Huo msichana nini itafanya siku teenager mother watu? Hakuna. Juu kitu ya kwanza atumii family planning juu ya nini? Yeye anajua family planning si mzuri na kunyonyesha ni nini? Ni family planning. Si akifanya hiyo kitu anajikuta tena na mimba nyingine. So mimi by the way, I advocate for comprehensive sex education. Na si advocate ifanywe but na advocate iongelewe. Na kwa hizi mjadala zote zikieko kwa meza juu, kitu moja nimekuja ku notice, unaona watu wa hii generation waezi weka chini waiongee. So mimi naweza takanga hii youths ndio wakuwe waneko on front page ya kufanya hii kitu. At least ikitoka kwa youth mwenzao wataweza kuishika vizuri na wataweza kuielewa. Juu acha nisikudanganye, kuna vitu zenye saizi Nancy akiniambia nitaona Nancy ananiambia nini. But from me by the way, mimi nikiambo kitu na mtu age yangu naweza sikia juu nitaona huyu msee ni kama ame experience. But Nancy ananiambia na miaka yake na yangu haipatani. Na pia kuna venye Nancy ataniambia nione make sense. But venye mtu best yangu hata tunaongea, pia communication by the way huwa ina matter a lot. Si ni ukweli? So unapata kama saizi kwa mashule tukiendanga, teacher hawezi kujambia mtoto usifanye sex ni nini, au anambianga mtoto tabia mbaya. But mimi nitakuwa na confidence ya kusimama pale na niambia hao watoto na niweze kuwabongesha vizuri na tuweze kuelewana. But tunaona mwalimu juu pia anaangalia yeye ni mzazi, kuna vitu zenye atakuwa anafanya nini, anazicut off. So bado information niko but yuko full. Information inapewa no short. Na information short haisaidii. Hii kitu inafaa ikuwe kwa straight kwa meza. Si ni ukweli? Hii kitu inafaa tu ine kwa straight. Na mtu mwenye pia anaweza yeka straight ni mtu mwenye wanapelekana.
Yeah, actually what she's talking about is what we call peer-to-peer mentorship, which has really proven very successful. I think where we should now ask ourselves is what are the solutions out of this quagmire? And she's talked about that. Our current youth Generation Z, as you put it, Olive, are so full of energy. They are very energetic people. They are maturing faster, and so many reasons explain to that. The change in the climate.
Hata Gen Z sasa hiyo wamezeka, kuna ingine nimesahau inaitwa nini? That is the demographic.
So the question is, how do we tap into their energy so that it is not left? You know, once something is not controlled, then they discover by themselves. So I'm actually urging schools, churches, like you put it, religious organizations, to find ways in which these youth can be engaged. And some of us can come in very handy. Like that program that I lead, specifically I target the boy child. Because like you did say, where is this coming from? Yeah, there must be a source of all these problems. The boys should also be mentored. Like I remember, and you have worked with me in the journey of my teaching all the way from Tanzania to Rwanda. There is a program where you have a mentorship program. Every Friday, I meet the boys. The girls can also be attached to a mheshimiwa here. And she will share her story, how she grew up. All that these guys need is just a voice. Like I did start by saying, they are actually listening. The audience is listening. But where is the voice coming from? Okay. The voice is absent. The parents are sugarcoating things. I really like the bold nature of Mheshimiwa here, woman rep for Kisii. I think I'm so proud of her. Do you have daughters?
Yes, she said two.
Two of them. Yeah. So let the mothers come out boldly and have this conversation with their daughters. Let the fathers come out and have a candid conversation with their sons. Let the teachers come out. Yeah.
Okay.
If a boy came to me one evening in the staff room and said, Mwalimu, I think I have started masturbating. You see, now some of the teachers will run away from addressing that issue, thinking that it is a taboo. We also need to look right into the curriculum. What are the gaps? And that's why I agree with my sister from Plan International. Yes, the schools are already teaching sex education, health science, life skills. Is it enough? Right. With the numbers skyrocketing on a daily basis, should we go back to the drawing board, re-engineer our curriculum and say, what are some of the emerging areas that we need to incorporate into this curriculum so that this society is actually taken care of? Otherwise, producing an A-grade student without these life skills, we are doing zero work, Olive.
Not forgetting, Olive, as we speak today, lesbianism is very high in our schools. Okay. That one,
can we come back to that? I'll come back with you. We'll come back with that because that came up on the floor of the house. And there are those who took the view, tunawaonea 18. Hapa ndo mnataka kutupeleka on the other side of this break.
remarks, I've tried everything from A to Z, even vitamin C, but hardly any results. Nivea Lumina 630 works from day one with visible results in just 2 weeks and 71% dark marks reduction in 12. Join the 1 million women already using the #1 Lumina 630 from Nivea.
Je, mwanaume ni nani? Mwanaume ni mtu ambaye anaweza kubroadcast message ya I love you. Kwa sababu kila mtu in the contact list ni demu wake. Mwanaume ni mtu ambaye
To get Mwanaume ni Nani as your skiza tune, dial star 812 star 798 hash.
Skiza na Nation.
What are you doing? I told you can't go inside.
I was curious, just wanted to see the rats.
I just said no.
Why would you lock the cellar?
So that folks like you wouldn't go in and poison themselves.
Anna. Please don't leave me just yet.
Dennis.
I promise to help you take back the life you lost.
This is mental illness. You wouldn't have done such things if you weren't ill. Yana? Yana!
Get out of here! Get out!
Centum Real Estate offers you an opportunity to own a home at the Two Rivers Development, Mzizi Court Residence. Talk to us today on 0703 262626 or text 2 Rivers to 22365.
All right, welcome back to AM Live. Mheshimiwa, I had cut you short. We'll come to just I just want to look at, we're looking at some of your comments. We have here Magus, who says purity is what should be the main focus. That will take care of everything. Alex Mauti says he's from Maro, Kisii County. I think if they use HIV and STI disease will increase, which controlling only pregnancy. Tonisho Samuel says, let the curriculum cover digital era and implement ICT in learning. Maybe that they use the tablets and the tablets will tell them, you know, a cartoon figure will explain, you know, this. Yeah. Maybe it's more comfortable that way.
That's where the danger comes in. This guy is left on the digital device. But now, as you know how the ads come just streaming in, and these guys are so curious. The curiosity is part of it.
Okay.
So if, again, the ICT space is not controlled, that is where the Pandora's box is also open.
All right. We'll get into TikTok. We'll get into TikTok.
Yeah.
Gustavo says, wrong moves. Here I see Philo says, yes, it should. That is contraceptive use should be covered in the curriculum. And he says this is a sensitive matter that has been shuttered before. In the silence of suffering and resilience. Ketty Nila says, yes, we need this as a subject. Legislators should introduce this on the floor of the House. They have. Okay, so I will trace the other comments because it looks like I need to scroll further down. But Mheshimiwa, the question of LGBTQ came up during the debate. And there was a lady from the coast, I can't remember what her name is, and she was saying, you know, we need to place restrictions on exactly how comprehensive this sex education is so that we are careful not to encourage same-sex relationships. There was the Baringo woman rep who talked about the problem is only girls' schools and only boys' schools, and then that is how LGBTQ takes root. Mheshimiwa Nyamai talked about these children are exposed to all sorts of content, not only local content, but international content. And so they're also exposed to this kind of content. Mheshimiwa from Naivasha, Jane Kihara, talked about a video that was circulating on WhatsApp and such. I think at least I saw it there, of two boys kissing behind a car or something.
Yeah, that was
you know? And so she was saying, you know, they need to be told that these are our values, this is not appropriate. You know, so there also seems to be a lot of concern like you were raising.
What changed was actually the name LGBTQ. In real sense, we've had girl-girl relationship. That happens a lot in boarding schools, starting from class 6, even class 5, now grade 6. They write love letters. Chum, that is the common name. I want to chum you. Ntakuchum. They hold each other, they kiss. It's not that it's a new thing. It's only the name that came, LGBTQ. Go to high schools, same thing. To university, same thing. When we bring comprehensive education, we tell those who've not had sex to abstain. If you already had, please reduce your partners, because some have more partners. That's why in your phone, you have Patrick Fundi, you have Moses, saloonist. Then when you are visiting your boyfriend, that's when you change and save babe. But you follow the Alex, the Peter, and everybody. Those are your multiple sex partners. With comprehensive sex education, you will learn how to value yourself. You will reduce. You will say, oh, I've been sleeping with about 10 men. It's high time I concentrated on one. Having this conversation, Olive, is not that we know more. In fact, those who keep quiet, we have hypocrites. People, who, like now, someone will come on television and say, they are still having the same discussion about sex, forgetting that you have kids in your house who need to know about this. You will only wait for TikTok to teach them, which will be very wrong. Apart from that, that risk, if you will not be taught on the risk, you will definitely engage, which will be more dangerous than now having this conversation on board. So LGBTQ started a long time ago. It's a high time. We had suggestion box in our schools. The information that will come through those suggestion boxes, I'm telling you, the learners will be saying maybe how they have relationship with the teachers, how maybe the Form 4s and the Form 1s have relationship, and that is the time now we will kick on sex education. But avoiding the term sex education, pretending that we don't know sex education, we are burying ourselves.
All right. We've talked a lot about normalizing conversations around sex. Nancy, do we not then risk normalizing promiscuity?
No, I don't think so. And allow me to bring this conversation from this point. You are aware that Kenya withdrew from the Eastern and Southern African ministerial commitments on comprehensive sex education, which is a continental framework to reduce HIV/AIDS and child marriages. And this is one of the ways that was going to bring it out as a country where we are able to start talking about issue sex. But when we talk about sex, it is not only about the sexual intercourse. Yes, sex is not about sexual intercourse. We start talking about your body. We start talking about some of the things like child abuse, some of the things that can easily happen to a child. We start talking about children appreciating the changes that they are experiencing in their bodies, the importance of relationship and age appropriate. I mean, at what level should I start having a relationship as a girl with a boy, especially the intimate relationship. So when you talk about sex education, people have a lot of misconceptions and think it is about telling people how to have sex. But basically, it is not promoting sex. It is not about picking the Western culture. It is not about ignoring concerns. But again, it is about talking about cognitive and some of the feelings that your young people or children are able to have from the time that they are growing up as young people, as they become from children to adults. So when we talk about normalizing, it is just about not giving piecemeal information. When you talk about what am I going to tell my 5-year-old and what will I tell my 10-year-old? So you start doing it in stages so that they're able also to learn. And I really want to say this, like I told you that as a child, yes, my days, there were no issues of education and blah, blah, blah when I got pregnant. Actually, I didn't even know I was pregnant myself. And I remember the only information I had was concentrated tea can make the child come out for abortion. And I tell you, Olive, I worked in homes because I was in the village stealing tea leaves so that I could make a concentrated tea to abort the child, because that is the only information I had from my peers. So if somebody had talked to us about issues comprehensive sex, issues abstinence, issues the use of contraceptives, maybe I would not be there. I would not be where I am trying to abort, and then I didn't even know my child, I think by that time was 6 months, and me, I'm here, boiling the tea leaves to try to procure an abortion. I mean, it is not about having sex. That is one thing that people should know. When we talk about comprehensive sex education, we are not trying, because we also ensure that there is morality. Because just someone talk about purity. I think personally, as a person, I really appreciate purity, I really appreciate morality, and I appreciate abstinence on the young people, because even sex has its time. Every other thing is having their time. It is about pleasure, and a pleasure that is having their time. And if everybody has a choice, so if you choose pleasure now, you are accountable to it. But again, I am not saying that when we talk about sex education, I don't know why people think sex is this thing big. I mean, people have put sex out of context. I mean, people define sex out of context. Anytime you come in and just say sex, they say, you start talking, you are vulgar. We are not even vulgar. Somebody starts saying, they kept talking about sex. Actually, we need to normalize it. Sex should be normalized. In fact, even telling your child, do not have sex. Si ati usifanye kitu tabia mbaya, do not have sex. And explain how that sex is being done. Because for me, when I was growing up, is vijana wasioni suruaru yako. I mean, that one was a way of saying that you do not need to do this. But right now, we just need to be very candid with our young people and our children.
Au mnasema wanafaa kusema do not have sex. Ndio wanafanya kwa giza. As in,
yes, already so it depends.
Kitu ya kuficha. Kitu ya kuficha.
Between contraceptives and abortion, for example, we are telling people to abstain. There are those who've not.
Yes.
Then you're pregnant. Do you know what your parent will tell you? You mean you don't mingle with other girls? You don't know we have P2 or this morning after and everything. So they will rather discuss abortion than contraceptives. Because when you're pregnant, the first thing your parent will tell you or your aunties, choose between going back to school or being a mother. When you're told to choose between going back to school and being a mother, that is one way of you procuring an abortion. So people should not pretend that when we discuss about contraceptives, we are encouraging our young girls to have early sex. After all, if I told you at our KTRH, Kisi Teaching and Referral Hospital, we have 60 to 65 teen mothers already. They have engaged in sex. Both the discussion on abortion, it is legal, it's not in our constitution, but contraceptive use will make them know. They will have information. How many have said, I wish I knew that there were those morning after I would have taken. I wish I knew when it is too late. How am I going to do? I can't swallow my baby. But you should have known the use of the contraceptive. Information is key.
Okay. Lydia, if you're comfortable, only if you're comfortable, you're a teen mom.
Yes.
What was missing?
Me, sikuwa najua anything. Like me, nasemanga kitu moja. I used to go to school leo, kesho siko shule, nimefukuzwa. So unaona hata kama information niko, bado sipati yote. So pia sasa ndasema hapa, tukifocus bado na shule sana, pia tufocus na wale wasichana wako nje wenye hawasomi. So mimi sijasoma sana, nimesoma tu kidogo. So unaona mimi ni mtu wa home, I never knew anything. Mama yangu hakukuwa ananiambia pia anything. Pia shule siko. So unaona pia mimi nasemanga ile information saizi, na ndio reason ya mimi saiku kwa girl advocate. Juu nasemanga Kenya saizi napata, nataka nipe msichana mwingine. Juu pia mimi ningeipata hapo nyuma, singekuwa venye saizi niko. Hiyo ndio kitu moja nasemanga. Mimi by the way mimi sikuwa najuanga kama kuna vitu za kutumia. Mimi nilijikuta tu naenda. But akili yangu iko inaniambia nitapata hata mimba ama nitapata ugonjwa. Me I just went and gave my body. But in reality sikujua kuna consequences za nini za kupeana mwili yangu. But ningejua mimi nasemanga maybe saizi singekuwa a teen mom. I don't regret by the way because ilisha happen. But mimi nasemanga if I had the information singekuwa saizi hivi. And that's why mimi nilichoose nikuwe girl advocate juu ya hiyo. Ni reach out information kwa wasichana wote. Na sifanyi hivyo shule peke yake. Atufanyangi hivyo shule peke yake. We also do homes juu. Kama kwenye mimi nimetoka, most girls are not in school. Msichana kama yuko shule unafikiri atapata hiyo information? Haezi ipata. Na pia bado kitu kingine nasemanga. Unaona bado tukifocus na hizi stories za sex, pia tufocus ni akina nani sana wanafanya hizi sex. Juu one thing nimekaa hivi nikaona older men ndio wanachangia kwa hizi sex sana kwa teenage pregnancies kwenda chini. Tusiseme sana ni youths au vijana wetu. So pia tukifundisha pia watoto tukue tunawaambia vizuri ni nani anafai kushika mwili, ni nani afai kushika mwili. Juu kitu ya kwanza mtoto utamwambia usikubali ule kijana kushike mwili. But ule mzee akimshika mwili, si ule ni mzee na ni mtu mzima. So mtoto hata sema juu si kijana alimshika, mamangu hakuniambia pia ule mzee afai kunishika. So I think pia information yenye tunafai kwa tunaipeana, tunafai kuinclude kila kitu. Juu kasa hizi mzazi akikwambia ukianza kufundisha mtoto wako, umuoneshangi pia pastor anaweza kuwa mtu mwenye anaweza kufanya kitu mbaya. Wewe unamuonesha trust pastor. Mimi kwanza nasemanga wazazi wana neglect watoto wao vibaya sana. Juu mzazi pia ndio mzazi anafaa kuwa role model wa mtoto wake. Na kenye kyote inatoka kwa mdomo ya wewe mzazi ndio mtoto wako anasikia. So wewe unaoneshanga mtoto wako ako sawa na baba yake. But unajua baba wengi ndio wanatumika kufanya hizo vitu zenye saizi zinafanyika. Unapata hata mtoto ako pregnant na imetoka kwa nani? Kwa baba yake. Hata kama yuko pregnant, nani anamuabuse? Si ni baba yake. So when giving out the information, I think pia tufai kukua too much direct kwa kila kitu yenye unaambia mtoto. Yes, so do not trust anyone with your body. Usiambie tu mtoto don't trust the neighbor with your body. Don't trust anyone. Hata pasta akikuguza ama teacher. Kwanza walimu wameivia sana kwa hizo vitu. Lakini hao ndo maana wapendi kwa mimi bedheno unaanga hiyo ndio sababu kubwa yenye wapendangi hizo story sana. Juu unaona kama saizi ukita watoi home uwaambie chukueni pepa muandike tu vitu. Mtoto ataandika chini, wewe anakutrust na atakupea kwambie maybe ni teacher, maybe ni uncle. But wewe umefoka sana na jirani. Lakini ujui ule mtu mwenye umetrust mtoto wako na yeye ndiye ako behind hizo vitu zote.
Watu nitakuja ujibu hiyo.
Yes. So mimi juu kama una in our group we have male champions. They are young. So wanatusaidianga kwa advocate ya hizi vitu. Unaona? Na pia by then tunaangania big help juu coming out from men inakuwa very much easier. Pia juu demu kimwambia kitu na ni mwanaume anamwambia anaona inasaidia. Yes.
All right. Mhesh, there are those who would argue that we are focused on the wrong thing. Because they would argue that a good majority of these teen pregnancies are as a result of maybe they're poverty driven. That, you know, you've heard of sex for water in the informal slums, sex for pads.
Sex for food.
Yeah,
true. Sex for grade.
Mimi, I agree with that. A girl can get pregnant because of 50 shillings to buy always. Na ndio maana nimwambia information ikitoka nje, ikienda shule pia nje ikuje. And also pia naweza sema the government pia inafai kuingilia hapa. Juu kitu ya kwanza ule mtoto mwenye ako kwa streets, sasa hizo unajua kuna msichana atapata mimba juu ya lunch tu peke yake. Ataenda mwana kijana tuende nikubaie lunch. Huyu msichana atatoka ataenda. Ajua atapata mimba ama ugonjwa. Kitu ya kwanza huyu mtu ni mdogo. So sex inafanya vitu mingi sana zina happen. Tumbo. Unapata saa nyingine pia wazazi wengine wa take care of their kids. Unajua si must uwe na pesa ndio shughulike mtu wako. Unaona hata ile tu attention na understanding. So unapata mdema ananyesha. Unadoya always. Si kama zamani ulikuwa unaambiwa ngova kitambaa, vaa mattress. Unajua nilisikia tu zamani walikuwa wanaambiwa hivyo. Sasa hizi you can't tell a small girl avae kitambaa ama mattress.
You always trek for long distance to school. Then you find a boda rider who will take you to school each day. You will have to compromise. On the other side, you are trekking for a long distance, maybe in search of water. As you travel along, there's someone who will tell you there's a way I can help you, I can fetch it for you. Then it's a whole lot. The government has a role to play.
True.
Apart from, you've talked about the issue of sanitary pads. I've never understood why we have free condoms and we don't have free sanitary pads.
Even in
There's a day someone was saying, how can you discuss about sanitary pads? Who doesn't have sanitary pads?
Hey.
I was like, I wish you know, most of
True.
us were using rags.
Ask me. You can,
If you don't know, if you are not aware of that shoe, keep quiet.
True.
Others will tell you, for example, Donya, why are you against FGM? Of course, FGM has no health benefit. Then it will be like, we are not doing infibulation. What we are doing is just a small cut of the clit. You definitely don't understand about the body nerves. You are interested in talking about FGM. You are not a girl. Why are you talking on our behalf? People want to justify everything. Mama, all you have to discuss about is FGM. Sex is not something to talk about. We are all of us here because of that. It's actually important to talk about sex. What do we discuss in Kenya on most of our platforms? We discuss about politics. Rarely do we consider agriculture and sex, which is key. From agriculture, you have the normal food. From sex education, we discuss about these things. It's high time agriculture discussion, sex discussion was spoken more as politics is. Check on the dairies. Politics, number one. True. Politics. Who has even called a conference on agriculture? We discuss on issues to do with food. Because when we are self-sufficient, these things we are discussing about being bought mandazi or being given this, we will curb. We will curb the teen pregnancies. So sex education, agriculture, and the politics should be on the same level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Otoa, two questions.
Yes.
Because I'm looking at the clock. I see we have about 12 minutes to
Okay.
go. No, is it 12? Yes. So one, what has been raised by Lydia here. Teachers are culprits. So there's even I share the same concern. The other day there was the story of the teacher in Kuresoi North who was arrested, caught in the act with a child. If we say teachers, okay, now do comprehensive sex education, are we now opening the door for them now to prey on our children? Number two, is there a way to teach, to give comprehensive sex education without touching on those pain points?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is a landmine.
I fully understand. I think those are isolated cases. I think a teacher, what his or her assault, who has the heart of the child, knows, that's why I describe teaching not just like any other form of career, Olive. And many teachers who are doing a very good job out there. In fact, for the Kenyan teacher, I can vouch for them. It's not just a matter of earning that salary. For your information, most teachers, or the teachers in this country comparatively, they don't get as much motivation in terms of remuneration and all that as other jurisdictions outside there. So most of them are doing a very noble duty. They are doing more parentage. Actually, the child spends 3/4 of his or her time with the teacher in school, and only a quarter of the academic year at home. And courtesy of, again, Corona, these holidays at home have been so reduced. But the question that we started asking is, what is the role that the parent is playing? Some of these things, Olive, are also emanating from our domestic settings. My research also indicates that children who end up in these forms, either as perpetrators or people in society who are causing all these problems that we are discussing here, is also because of parentage. In Kenya, we have now had so many cases of single parent families, and most parents, I beg your indulgence to really say this, is that they are unleashing their vengeance to their children. Things didn't go as you anticipated, and therefore the children are seeing a missing link in the domestic family household. What are they doing? Just like I did say, they're also reactionary. Yeah. And I have had conversations with young girls who say, I think, Mwalimu, I am doing this out of bitterness. Times are hard. The dynamics of life are there. I just want to urge our parents to always try as much as they can to provide that buffer zone. You could be going through a lot as Olive, as a person. Your relationship could not have worked out well, but try as much as you can to create that, even if it's just a facade for your daughter, so that you create that veil, so that she cannot, by the time she gets to her age, she does not also look out for vengeance. And people are opting for many ways. I didn't get this, so I got it in. But most importantly, also from my sisters here, let us also not demonize the male or the boy child. You know, when we tell them, don't even, as in Chinua Achebe says, never allow the handshake to pass the elbow. Where does the elbow stop? You know, at the end of it all, Olive, we also start the risk of alienating society, such that this particular girl who feels so fond of me as a teacher and would just want to give me a hug and say, "Hi, teacher, how was your weekend?" But because the mother has been drumming a lot of information to this girl, don't approximate a male teacher or a male person in this manner. Let us also be very careful in how much this interpersonal relationship. I'll just shock you. I did my own research about mixed secondary schools or mixed schools vis-a-vis pure same-sex or gender schools. You realize that those girls who went through mixed secondary schools, and Mweshmiwa will tell me, will either agree with me or disagree, those girls or boys develop resilience, high emotional resilience to face all this. When I went to Kenyatta University, there was my neighboring high school that was same-sex. We went through a mixed secondary school. I'm telling you, by second year, Olive, almost 40% of the cohort from that similar girls' secondary school, the girls were pregnant. And the high school teacher, madam, came and said, "Why are you shaming me? Why are you disappointing me?" I was among the people who went to that madam and told her, when these girls were back in high school, you denied them one opportunity. You didn't allow them to speak. I'm actually telling you, this school, I will not disclose it here because this is a national TV. You were seen on Funkies. They are called the Funkies when they go out. Talking to a boy from a neighboring school or any other school. That was more of a felony. Yeah? And you are shamed before the public. When you go back to school, a parade will be called and you will be paraded and say, you were seen talking to a boy. What we need to do is communication. What form of language are we empowering our people, our children to? Do they know what it means by assertiveness? I started by saying I am a proponent of the CBC. CBC has a lot of embedment. If we can embed assertiveness, when does the girl say no and she means a no? We are speaking on both sides of our mouths, Olive, as a society. A lady will tell you no, but it means yes. So can we work with our children, especially our girls and boys? And it's good that we also address this. When we address it on the girl child, we also look at the other side of the divide. The boy child, a lot of homosexuality is on the rise too, just like lesbianism. Many boys have been molested. So they should also be told, nobody should touch you here. So why are we engrossed at the breasts, at the other parts of the girl, and we're not telling the boy child, mtu akikuguza hapa ikuwe war. Okay. So the conversation is, are we also empowering the boy child to be responsible enough and know that this is my sister, this is what we need, and we should not by any means deviate and say they should not have these relationships. Let them have them so that they start building responsibility as early as possible.
All right. So I will let that be your last word so that I can also have my last, the ladies also have a last word. Yeah. But Nancy, what he's talking about, I was listening to Kawanjiko, you know, and there's a point where he interjected and he said, "Mweshimiwa, why are you only picking women? Even us, we are fathers of girls." Yeah. And then he said he has girls. I can't remember how many he said. And then he said he has an 11-year-old. So a lot, you know, the fear usually is, as Otwa is saying, around the girl child.
Yes, I know there has been a lot around the girl child. That one I really admit, because when you talk about the burden of pregnancy, who has the burden of pregnancy? Is it the girl or the boy? I became pregnant, the boy continued with school, I dropped out of school. So the burden of pregnancy is with the girls. The girls are more exposed than, especially when we look at our cultural norms. Yes, cultural norms. We are just trying right now. But again, culturally, the girl has been down there. So we are just trying to ensure that the girls is also up, and then they are also at more or less at the same level. Because right now is when you are able to see even the statistic of education or the school going, the statistic in education, girls are somewhere as compared to boys. And we are still not there, especially when it comes to leadership. We are still having high leadership, it is the men. When it comes to resources, who has the resources? When it comes to issues, when we're even doing politics, who is more intimidated? Who is being raped? Very few men have always been raped, especially when they are old men. During this particular time, most of the girls are still, or women are still going through that. So yes, the concentration is on the girls, but again, we try, like I just say that as an organization, we are having Boys Champion, and we are also trying to ensure that they are also having information. And we are still having a lot of connotations, because I've just had Mr. Otwa talk about when a girl say no, they mean yes, and I'm like, hey,
I heard that.
I mean, no is a no. I mean, no, whether I say it no.
See, unajua wanaambiwa anajifanya.
I mean, whatever way, in whatever way I say it, it is a no. I mean, is there any other meaning for a no as an educationist? Whether I say it laughing, whether I say it a no with a hard face, it is still a no. So you see the things that still surrounds girls, that somebody still thinks, Nancy has just said no, but I think Nancy means a yes. And we are a bit exposed still as girls. That is why we really try to do a lot on girls, and also not leaving out the boys. But we also want men to come up and also support us in this cause, because most of these, especially in advancing the rights of the girls, in advancing these causes, it is only women, most of the time you see them come up. And I don't know whether this is my last, because I really want to yes, so I'm just trying to say last is a call for action. There is need for coordination between the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education in just ensuring that all these go in tandem. There is a way that all these are being implemented, because I spoke about two policies, the education sector policy on HIV/AIDS and school health policy. Where is it domiciled? Is it Ministry of Health or Ministry of Education? So we really need to have this and ensure that the government also back up these policies, yes, costed, but also with finances.
All right. Nancy utarudi, don't worry. You don't have to finish everything. But your last word, Lydia and Mheshimiwa Donya, really quickly, because now I'm on borrowed time.
Mimi nasema pia tujue venye tutaongelesha watoto wetu. Kama ni wape tu example kidogo, kuna mama akona msichana ako form 2 na alituambianga since amejua aizi ambia mtoto wake abstain from sex na aizi mwambia abstain from men. Juu ukimwambia abstain from men atakuwa mixed na girl mwenzake, si ni ukweli? So ndasema tu venye pia huwa amesema mwanaume si mbaya, but venye unakalisha mtoto wako chini unamwambia. Huwa mama alikalishanga mtoto wake chini, akamwambia mam, uko na boyfriend? Niletee boyfriend wako. Hii na hii na hii, msifanye hii na hii na hii. Si mnapendana, there is always a right time for everything. So pia venye tunaambia watoto wetu itamata, pia kama mtoto atago on the other side, ama ata stick to this guy, lakini afuate nini? The right direction, na kama watawait. So tusichukulia kama pia ati vitu kama za maboyfriend ni vitu kubwa kubwa. Mtoto anaweza kuwa pia na boyfriend, but wa abstain from sex na waweze ku-maintain.
Okay.
But italingana venye pia sisi kama wazazi tunaichukulia.
All right, last Mheshimiwa Donya.
The government should make it clear the issue of sex education, and the learners should be told, for example, where they can report this to. I've made it to my people at Kisii County. They come to my office, they report on defilement and other abuses. Some people even find it difficult to report at the police station because hardly can the perpetrators be taken into full account. So also on the police side, something needs to be done. But on the comprehensive education on sex is good for our learners.
All right. Otwa, lazima ni
no, just to thank NTV for such kind of conversation.
Thank you, Otwa. Thank you. And as Nancy has said, I know is I know whether I'm laughing, I'm smiling, or whatever. I know is. I know. Boys, mumesikia tumewafanyia comprehensive sex education. Gerish George, one last thing, says many of the youth find themselves in a loophole of infertility because excessive use of P2 when they were young. It should be a topic of concern in this generation. Haya ni hivyo, jina langu ni Olive Barrows, Otoa Sifuna, Mheshimiwa Donya, Lydia, Nancy Okoth. Good morning.